Truly shocking news, a shocking turn of events. Bryan Kohberger has accepted a plea deal. Kohberger was charged in the brutal stabbings of Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in their off-campus house in November of 2022. The prosecution proposed dropping the death penalty in exchange for Kohberger pleading guilty to the 4 murders and to the burglary charge. Kohberger must also agree to spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole, and he must waive his right to appeal. All pretty standard when you take a plea deal. Now, the family of one of the victims, Kaylee Goncalves, posted an update to social media saying, "We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected." A court hearing is scheduled on the matter for July 2nd. Let's bring back in our guest. Joining us to discuss, former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Nima, first and foremost, I want to get your reaction to this incredible news.
Michael, I'm shocked. We're talking about one of the most gruesome murders in Idaho state history, a case that everyone's been following since it happened almost 3 years ago, in November 2022. And really, out of nowhere, we're scheduled for trial in mid-August. I mean, the judge, denied the defense motion to continue the case, denied the defense theory of the real killer, right? Said the defense can't present evidence of these other 4 individuals because there's no legal or factual basis to do so. So we've been getting ready for this trial here on Court TV and really the entire country and world for almost the past 3 years. Now, I'm not surprised the family is upset. Obviously, as victims, they have rights. They have a right to be heard. They have a right to be consulted. But ultimately, it is the prosecution's decision, and there's nothing the families can do to stop this from happening. I have to give credit to Ann Taylor and the defense team. They filed many pretrial motions to set this case up for both trial and appeal. And regardless how you feel about the death penalty, this, if you do believe in it, is a death penalty case. I mean, there's really no reason why these 4 innocent young men and women had to have their lives taken. So credit to the defense. They did an outstanding job for their client. If you are a death penalty lawyer, your #1 job is to keep your client alive. That's what they did here. My hearts go out to the victims and their families. I think they're not happy, obviously, with this result, but shocking, to say the least. I have really no other words to describe this, Michael.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, specifically about the job done by the defense. One may look at this, Nima, and say, well, why did they go through all that if, maybe they knew he was guilty, maybe they didn't, and they were putting forth these theories, and even though they knew maybe that he was involved. But again, all of those things were sort of forcing the system to prove what they were claiming, right, what they were accusing him of, but also getting the best result for their client. That's their job.
That absolutely is their job. And people ask me, you do criminal defense. I mean, I'm a prosecutor, but, why don't you do criminal defense? And, you don't like defending criminals. And you're right, I don't like defending criminals, but I respect people that do. That is their job. And our system only works when there's prosecutors and there's defense lawyers. And just taking a step back, so I want people to understand the legal strategy here. When you are handling a death penalty case, there is a statistically greater chance that that death sentence is overturned on appeal than you actually have of getting a not guilty verdict from a death penalty qualified panel of jurors. So let's understand that, right? When you're doing voir dire, right, we've gone through jury selection a lot here on Court TV, but if it's a death penalty case, the judge also asks the potential juror's view on capital punishment. And if someone says, I could never impose the death penalty, or I couldn't follow the law, well, that juror is going to be excused. So in these death penalty cases, the jurors tend to skew more conservative. Obviously, in a case like this, there'd be a lot of pressure on the jurors to return a death sentence. So what the defense was trying to do is, and I know a lot of people have been watching, thought he was actually innocent. I think once the Amazon search history came out, there was really this overwhelming evidence in this case, on top of the DNA on the knife sheath at the scene, the white Hyundai launcher video, the cell site evidence. What the defense tried to do is, by filing all these pretrial motions very aggressively, motion after motion, they were forcing the prosecution to oppose it, but the judge to make rulings that could potentially be overturned on appeal because you just need one appellate judge or justice. And we know in death penalty cases, Michael, there's mandatory state and federal appeals. So they'd have multiple bites at it. By ultimately litigating the case as aggressively the way they did, they were able to save their client's life, which is a really testament to the defense team here.
And even if he was convicted, Nima, it could have taken 30, 40 years for them to ultimately impose that death penalty because of the appeals. It always seemed that that was the way they were going in this case. I want to quickly talk about the victims before I run out of time. One of the things that surprised me was that they were saying this is the first they've heard of it when it was sort of let out. Of course, there is a gag order, but you would expect that before prosecutors did a deal like this, they would have consulted with the family. Did that surprise you?
That's very surprising. And if that is true, that is shameful. You are a prosecutor. Your job is to pursue justice, and it's to follow the law. Every state in this country has a victim's bill of rights or Marsy's law. And at the top of that list, as a victim, you have a right to be heard, you have a right to be informed, you have a right to be consulted. And you don't have a right to make a decision because you're not a party of the case. But if prosecutors really didn't tell the family members of these victims that they intend to offer a deal, and they're hearing for the first time on court TV or social media, that is shameful. Hopefully that's not true, and hopefully prosecutors did their job and they followed the law. Unfortunately, even if there wasn't that proper consultation, it doesn't change the outcome. We saw that recently in the Adnan Syed case, where that case was dismissed after many years. A lot of folks thought that he was innocent. Family members objected, and the result ultimately was the same.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. All right, wonderful stuff, Nima. Truly appreciate your insights there.